The longest plank in the world was held for 9 hours, 38 minutes, and 47 seconds. On the outside, a plank is just holding a fairly stable position for a very long time. But on the inside, there's no exercise that feels more intense and agonizing. In those 9.5 hours, I wonder what thoughts were going through his head. Was he thinking about the pain, or were his thoughts blissfully quiet as he slowly felt that burn in his core? Or maybe was he trying to distract himself instead? Well, by doing a plank challenge this month, I think I got closer to understanding. Hi there, I'm Nivi, and since January 2023, I've been doing a different challenge every month. Now I want to share what I learned with you, and hopefully encourage you to try a challenge of your own. In this video, I'll talk about what I learned from the plank challenge, the biggest mistake and how to avoid it, and tips and tricks for you. I found 1 month to be the perfect duration for a challenge. There's a quote that I love from Matthew Kelly: "Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a month." What I've learned from this is, if you start doing something small today and every day you increase the difficulty just a little bit, you'll be surprised by how much you can improve. How the challenge works is this. We'll start on day 1 with a 10-second plank. On day 2, we'll add another 10 seconds to that, so we're planking for 20 seconds. Day 3 is 30 seconds, and so on. This means that after 30 days, we're at exactly 5 minutes. There are no rest days, and we never increment by more than 10 seconds at a time. You might be thinking, a 10-second plank is way too easy. How about I just skip the first few days and start at a harder duration? I'm going to explain why this is a bad idea later in this video, but for now, think of the first few days as practicing good form. To do a proper low plank, your shoulders should be above your elbows, and you should be squeezing your core while keeping your body stiff. You don't want to be straining your back either, which can happen if your hips are drooping too low. Try to hold still and keep balanced. You'll know you're doing it right if you feel a burn in your core and you start wondering if maybe a 6-pack of abs isn't worth it after all. The first thing I noticed was every day, the first minute of planking just became easier and easier. By the way, I'm the kind of person who needs to know how many seconds are left. I'm checking the timer every second and doing the math in my head. That's why I could easily notice when the first minute seemed to be passing by faster every day. I'm sure some of this was also psychological, but my core felt strong, and that leads to the second thing that I noticed: my posture. Any exercise that strengthens your core also improves your posture because it's the same muscles that help you stay upright without slouching. Personally, I work a desk job, so I spend a lot of time sitting down. That's why overall I noticed that I slouched less and I had less back pain. The third thing I noticed was actually really unexpected. Just for reference, my longest plank before doing this challenge was around 1 minute and 30 seconds long, back in high school. This means that from day 10 onwards, I was hitting a new personal best every single day. When I tell you I felt accomplished, that's putting it lightly. My self-esteem was high, my confidence was boosted, and I felt more comfortable trying hard things. If you do this challenge, you'll be surpassing your limits again and again, and that will make you feel like you can do anything. I would recommend doing this challenge just for this reason alone. Every day, you'll go to bed with a small victory, and that's pretty awesome. Moving on, what I didn't notice is any changes in weight. Planks don't really burn calories, and while you are definitely strengthening the muscles in your core, it probably won't be enough for you to get a 6-pack of abs either. Although I did see some physical changes, I don't have enough before pictures to make a comparison. The next thing I want to talk to you about is the big mistake I made while doing this challenge, and that if you aren't prepared for, you might make as well. You'll need to remember that you'll never want to do the planks. It will never feel like the perfect time to do planks. More likely, you'll wake up in the morning, you'll be tired so you can't do planks now, and then you'll have lunch and you'll think, okay, well, I can't exercise after eating, and besides, I just ate, so I must be heavier, so the planks will be harder. And for the rest of the day, you'll be busy, so you won't think about doing the planks, and you'll tell yourself you'll do the planks after dinner. This is the mistake, and here's why. By week 3, the planks were over 3 minutes long, so they were difficult. My only rule for myself was to do the planks before I went to bed. But that meant I would always procrastinate until midnight and sometimes later. So every night I would sleep later and later, and by the end of the month I was exhausted. There's a saying, if you have to eat a frog every day, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. If you do your planks at the end of the day like I did, you'll spend the whole day dreading it. It'll be at the back of your mind like mental torture. Plus, since you wait until the last minute to do it, you'll only have one chance to get it right. If you fail, you'll be too sore to try again. So if you do this challenge, please make sure to pick a hard deadline for yourself. For example, 10 p.m. That way, there's urgency and you can't keep putting it off and sacrificing sleep. Now let's talk about tips for you. I have 3 tips. Tip number 1 is don't skip the first week. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, has a great quote about this. A habit must be established before it can be improved. If you can't learn the basic skill of showing up, then you have little hope of mastering the finer details. Instead of trying to engineer a perfect habit from the start, do the easy thing on a more consistent basis. You have to standardize before you optimize. If you start at 10 seconds, it's a lot easier to convince yourself to do it. And once you've been planking for a week, well, now you have a streak going. So that will give you momentum to continue with the rest of the challenge. Tip number 2 is keep it simple. You don't need a yoga mat to do a plank. You can do it in your pajamas, you can do it barefoot, you can do it in the kitchen. You also don't need an app to track your planking, unless that helps you. If you introduce barriers like, I can only plank while I'm wearing my workout clothes, that just makes it harder for you to stay consistent on days when you're not feeling up for it. Finally, tip number 3 is challenge yourself, but don't worry if you hit a temporary ceiling. I reached the 4-minute plank, which was a huge milestone for me, but on day 25, I failed to reach the 4-minute 10-second plank. So I did 5 sets of a 1-minute plank and called it a month. Could I have kept going and reached 5 minutes if I wasn't so sleep deprived? Maybe, but by that point, I was happy with my progress and I was ready to move on. You might not reach 5 minutes either, and that's okay. But what I guarantee is you'll be further than you are right now, and that's the best part of doing any challenge. That's all for me. Thank you for watching this video. Leave a comment if you want to try this challenge. I have a whole year's worth of challenges to tell you about, so I have more coming up in 2024, and if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, feel free to subscribe. Okay, bye.